Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the GBYWN Australia podcast. Aston Crude, as usual, here with Chris Zeplin.
Thank you.
Part 3, the Q&A. Let's get straight onto it, bro.
Alrighty.
Dark Ice, he asks, what was your favourite GM moment?
My favourite GM moment? It's hard to say because there's so many. Obviously the hill turn stands out the most. Twisted Metal 6,
yep.
Joining the Radical Movement. So that was the one where the Iron Man match ended in the draw between Mike and Clint, and then I came out as special guest referee. Clint was about to win, I counted 2, and then stopped, and then turned on Clint. Radical Movement comes out, beats up Clint, and then Mike wins 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So that one stands out because that was something I wanted to do for a long time, turn heel.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think there are a lot of great things that I did, but that was one that really stood out, I think.
That was the big one on your bucket list.
Yep.
Gotcha.
I managed to cross that one off.
Cool.
Also,
Dark Eyes asks,
yep.
What was the best part about being general manager?
I assume he means on screen.
Yeah.
I think just being able to be involved in many different feuds at the same time. Like, there were a few shows where, I think Halloween Hell 2011 is a good one, where I actually came out a couple of times and got involved in a few different matches. So I got to work with a lot of different people sort of at the same time, which was cool. And yeah, I guess just sort of having that presence, having a character that people respected and liked, or hated when I turned heel. And yeah, that was, I think, the best part of it. Just, yeah.
Cool. Next one, if you had to drop the GM role earlier than you did,
yep.
Who would you have liked to have palmed it off to?
Person that immediately comes to mind is DJ, simply because I think he has both the history in the ICWS and the mic skills to pull it off.
Yeah.
So I think he would have done a really good job with it. Maybe Nick could have done it after his wrestling career wound down. Like, that could have been a cool way to keep him involved in the shows.
Just that chilled out general manager.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
Those are probably the two that would come to mind straight away. Probably Alex would have been pretty entertaining actually as general manager.
True.
That would have been fun.
Imagine he cashed in the briefcase on you.
That's right. That would have been interesting.
Yeah. Like, he didn't realise you put that in the contract.
Yep.
Okay. How do you think Dark Ice is doing as general manager right now, if you have kept up?
So I've seen a bit of what he's been doing, and I think he's doing pretty well. And I think, following on from the last question, I think Ice is another one who would do a good job and is doing a good job at the moment. I think the whole, like, coming out in a suit and cutting the promos, I think it works really well for him, and it's sort of a complete departure from what he did as a wrestler.
Yeah.
So I think it works really well for him.
Yeah, good change for him.
Yeah, and I think, after I was general manager for so long, it's good to have someone different, like a different face, as the on-screen authority figure, so to speak. So, yeah, I think that's working well.
Okay,
like
cool.
it.
I think maybe I don't know who's asking the questions from here. I've got lost.
Oh, okay. That's good.
It might be him. How do you see ICWS in 1 year from now, based on word of mouth and recaps?
I'd like to see a pretty big show, like a Twisted Metal, in the next year or so, like where we have a couple of shows that builds up to it with some storylines, and then like a really big show where something really cool happens, like, I don't know, maybe you finally win the title from Chaos, or maybe someone like Ryan finally gets to be champion, something like that.
Yeah.
Just sort of build up to a really big moment. I guess something along the lines of, when Clint became the undisputed champion, or when the Iron Man match, something along the lines of what we've done at past Twisted Metals, I think would be really cool.
Try and keep it just as important as other Twisted Metals.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. Okay, I think maybe this is DJ.
Okay.
What kind of wrestling do you like to watch?
I quite like wrestling that tells a story. I've never really watched wrestling for the athletic side of it. I've always liked the storytelling side of it, and that probably shows in my booking, or our booking, I should say.
Yeah.
Not just me. So you know, matches. I can't think of a good example. Maybe like the Undertaker Shawn Michaels series of matches, something like that. Where, I mean, obviously they were great matches from an athletic point of view as well.
Yeah.
But, you know, I guess matches where you can get people really invested in the story. That's something that I enjoy. You know, a lot more than just, you know, two indie guys doing flips and bumps and whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
You like the showmanship and storyline aspect.
I think so, and because I've always been more attracted to the characters rather than the wrestling itself. So,
okay,
yeah,
cool. He also asks, your booking was known for its tight continuity.
Okay.
Tell us about your booking style and how you developed it.
I think part of it is probably OCD. Like, not that I have OCD, but just, you know, wanting everything to sort of be in place, like, and everything making sense.
Yeah.
You know, and just things like, you know, everyone has a storyline, everyone has something to do, every match has a purpose. You know, we don't just have two guys wrestling because, you know, there's nothing else for them to do.
Yeah.
So I guess I think my booking style developed from reading a lot of reviews of like WWE and WCW pay-per-views on the internet. So stuff like you know, Scott Keith and
okay.
There's another guy whose name I can't remember now, but he used to do some good reviews as well, where they would talk about, you know, like 90s pay-per-views about, and they would often talk about stuff like, you know, what if this happened or what if that happened, or, you know, that was really well booked, and that's where I got a lot of my ideas from, was just reading and watching all that old stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Next question from DJ. How much, if at all, did your production work for ICWS tie into your booking? Were shows played out a certain way with media or DVDs in mind, or did you simply work with whatever you had once you started editing?
So, I think I said in the first part of the podcast that when in the early days of the ICWS we used to film shows mainly for the purpose of the recap, which annoyed me because I was doing DVDs, so I had to sort of cut together these disjointed matches.
Yeah.
I think definitely when we started out, we tended to have a script and tried to stick to it with promos and matches and whatnot.
Yep.
But as we went on, you know, you sort of realise that, you know, the guys don't necessarily want to stick to the script and they want to just go out and do their own thing. So I like to sort of give them that freedom to do whatever they want and then just work with it, I guess. So I think that's changed over the time of UWF and ICWS.
Okay.
I hope that answers the question.
That does, yes. The next one, it's still DJ.
Yep.
Although you mentioned a desire to sit back as a fan at times, you're also known for your excellent camera work and the particular way you approached it.
Okay.
How important is it to have a good camera person for backyard wrestling?
I think it's very important, and this is, again, something that I was perhaps a bit pushy about when perhaps I didn't need it to be. Like, for example, I was really big on people not talking when they're holding the camera, because, you know, when you're right next to the camera and you start speaking, it comes up very loud on the camera.
Yeah.
And like when I was doing the DVDs, I would sort of try and cut out as much of that as I can so that it didn't like overwhelm the commentary.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you know, just things like there were a couple of occasions in the early ICWS where, you know, someone would be filming and there would be this big move or whatever, and they'd sort of only half get it on the camera, or they'd be filming something else, and that always annoyed me a bit. So I think it's very important to have good camera work, because I think the best camera work is where you don't actually notice the camera work, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like where if you watch something and you see that the camera work's not that good, then
you get annoyed.
It becomes
I get
noticeable.
annoyed when I see it.
Yeah.
Too.
Whereas if it's just, you know, like a steady shot, it's focusing on the action, then you just don't notice it, and you can focus on what's in the camera instead of the camera itself per se.
Gotcha. So he does ask about our match that we had, but he did mention some things I forgot to ask you.
Okay.
Tell us about your infamous match with Dan versus Aston Crew. Did anything hurt? Was it nerve-wracking to be involved in a match? How did you like it? So, was there some nerves?
I think there was some nerves. To be honest, it was more about not getting hurt than not putting on a good match, because I felt that with you and Dan in the match, and I figured you guys would probably do most of it, so I wasn't too concerned about the match not being good. I was a little bit concerned about getting hurt, which, as it turned out, I didn't need to be worried about because obviously you were pretty safe, and I think we both knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything hurting. I might have had. I don't know if it was that match or I think it was the previous show when Diffuse did the Samoan drop and he didn't sort of hold my head, so my head sort of snapped back onto the base, and I had a bit of a whiplash for a couple of days afterwards.
Yeah.
But from that match, I don't remember anything particularly painful. So
you weren't too nervous?
I don't think so. I think I was more excited than anything, to be honest, and I think I was trying to feed on the energy of the crowd, and obviously people were excited to see Chris Zeplin in a wrestling match. So obviously it worked out really well. So even if I was nervous, as it turned out, it wasn't really an issue.
Yeah. Next question from DJ: do you ever miss backyard wrestling?
Short answer is yes. I think I miss the social aspect of it. I think I miss the old ICWS more, even though the wrestling wasn't as good and the quality of the product wasn't as good. I think, just being with the guys and, like some of the jokes we would have and whatever, you do miss the comradeship of it all.
Yeah.
So that side of it I miss. The organisational side of it, I miss it when it was fairly simple. When it got a bit, overwhelming towards the end, I don't miss that quite so much.
Okay.
Because obviously that was got a bit stressful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think on the whole, I do miss it, but I feel like I've done all I can with it. So I don't really have a strong desire to. I don't really miss it enough to go back to it, I think.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Okay, so Knuckles has got several questions here, but
I thought he might.
A lot of these questions we already kind of answered.
Okay.
Like what made you want to start ICWS, what made you want to depart ICWS. We've kind of covered that.
Yeah. I should point out that I didn't really start ICWS. That was DJ and Nick.
Yeah,
and
okay.
So just to clear up that confusion.
Okay, cool. But he does ask, is there anything you regret that you never got the chance to do during ICWS?
Not really. I got to manage Knuckles, so that was one thing that I always wanted to do, and we eventually did that. I would have liked that to go longer, but as it turned out, obviously we stopped doing shows at that point, so that's just the way it goes.
Yep.
And yeah, apart from that, I think I did pretty much everything I wanted to do. I got to be a heel. I got to do the invasion, which was awesome. I think the only thing was the stuff we talked about in the last episode, where we had the big, Chris Zeplin tries to destroy the ICWS, and the young guys rise up and throw him out. But we sort of did parts of that anyway, so I don't think there's anything that we missed completely that I would have liked to do.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
All right. He also asked your favourite wrestler, favourite match, and favourite storyline.
In ICWS?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll start with my favourite match, probably the Iron Man match. I think I've already talked about that.
Yep.
That was pretty cool. And obviously with the heel turn, it's quite a big match for myself personally as well.
Yep.
And also his Knuckles retirement match against DJ at Twisted Metal 7. That
Great moment.
That was really cool, and that was something that I'd sort of, like I was saying before, when Knuckles was eventually going to leave, that was what I wanted his last match to be, and it turned out really well. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Favourite storyline has got to be the XW invasion, and I think that's everyone who was there at the time would say the same. That was really probably the pinnacle, I guess, in terms of epic stories in ICWS. Favourite wrestler? I'm a bit hesitant to say, actually, because everyone's great in their own way. You had Clint Marshall and my brother Dan, obviously, Knuckles, who was just so unique and different, and one of my best mates, so it was cool to see what he could do. DJ the same. Made the most of. Obviously, he's a bit limited, but he's made the most of what he can do, which is awesome. Eli was one of the best wrestlers in the early days and really led the way, I think, along with Nick.
Yeah.
And then later on we had Mike and Mitch and yourself. I don't think I can narrow it down to just one.
Yeah, so many different people who had different styles.
Yeah.
You know, everyone was great in their own way.
I think so, yeah.
He also asked, what was it like being taught how to wrestle by DJ?
Okay. I don't remember much of it, to be honest. Yeah, I think it was just like we went over basics. I was really good at chopping, like across the chest, so I think I did that to you a fair bit during the match we had. And yeah, it was, you know, we just sort of went out and mucked around on, I think it was a bit of mattress or foam or something that we had at the time, and just had fun with it, really. I don't think we took it too seriously at the time, because at that stage, this was when I was preparing for the match with Nick, which never happened.
Yeah.
And then by the time our match came around, I never really trained all that much for it.
Yep.
I just sort of went out and did it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, that was good fun, I guess. Yeah, I don't really remember too much of it, to be honest, so I can't say much more than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
He also asked, how did you create your character? Was he pretty much another version of you, or did you change the normal Chris personality?
I think it was an extension of me. I think when we first started, like at the very first Twisted Metal, DJ's Uncle Alan sort of shaped the whole like interview character. Like I was wearing a suit and I had makeup on and that sort of stuff. So I guess it just evolved from there, really, where I started out as the good guy GM, and then when we did the invasion, I sort of brought out a bit more of my character.
Yeah.
And then obviously the heel turn was sort of something that I've been planning for probably 2 or 3 years at that point, as something I'd like to do. So when I eventually got around to do it, it was basically a culmination of everything that I'd thought of. You know, if I'm a bad guy, I could do this and I could do that, and so I got to do that. But yeah, I think my character's pretty close to what I'm like in real life.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the last question from Knuckles is, which wrestler did you most want to beat the crap out of?
I don't know. I guess probably JD Flame would be up there. I think he'd be up there for most people. This is the early JD Flame, not now.
Not now.
He's pretty good now. I don't know. There wasn't really anyone I really wanted to beat the crap out of. Maybe Tim, because that'd be fun. But you know, that'd be a bit mean because he's small.
Not anymore.
That's true.
You probably haven't seen him since those days.
No.
He's quite tall now.
Fair enough. Yeah, I can't really think of anyone who I'd like to really beat up.
We can just stick with JD Flame. That'll work
that's
for me.
Fair enough.
That works for me.
Cool. All right. Let's leave it at that.
All right. So I'll just end this on a couple more.
All right. Cool.
As Chris Zeplin had the appropriate chance to say goodbye.
I think me being carried out of the ring, or out of the Z Arena at Halloween Hell, was probably the end of the main Chris Zeplin character.
Yeah.
And then what I did afterwards with the managing Knuckles and all that stuff was kind of like epilogue.
Yeah.
Like afterwards.
Yeah.
But it wasn't sort of part of the main story of Chris Zeplin. I'm fairly happy with the way I've gone out. Like I said in the previous episode, I would have liked to, in hindsight, I would have liked to sort of end it with me being carried kicking and screaming out of the Z Arena, but obviously I came back and managed Knuckles, which was something I wanted to do, so I got to do that. I don't know, I guess it'd be cool to maybe come back one day and sort of be a face again, and you know, maybe if you did something along the lines of Dark Heist trying to destroy the ICWS and then I come back to save it and that sort of stuff. Something like that maybe. But, you know, that could be the redemption of Chris Zeplin, you know, 4 years later.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Pretty happy.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with where I am and what I achieved. So
cool.
If nothing else happens, then I'll be happy to leave it at that.
Cool. All right, well, I guess just, have you got any lasting words about any misconceptions there may be, or just any lasting words to anyone out there who has followed you all this time, has been involved with you, but hasn't seen you in a long time? Is there any lasting words?
I don't think I've got anything to say to anyone in particular, just that it was a pleasure to work with everyone who was ever involved in ICWS. I don't think there was anyone who I ever really disliked in ICWS, not even Justin. And yeah, I'm just grateful for the opportunity to have worked with all these guys and you know, do something really awesome. Like, because when ICWS started, it was just, you know, a bunch of guys from school just mucking around on a bit of foam and on a mattress or whatever.
Yep.
And then we, you know, built a base and got all these guys in and created these championships and storylines that, you know, people look back on as awesome stuff. And really, it was just, you know, a bunch of teenagers mucking around in the backyard.
Yep.
So, you know, if people enjoy it and like watching it, then that's awesome. And
cool.
And yeah, I'm just happy to have been involved in it, and I'm happy to have done all I wanted to do with it. And now I guess I've moved on and looking for new challenges and all that stuff. And I haven't forgotten the guys. It'd be good to catch up with them again sometime. Maybe come down to a WZWA show or an ICWS show and see them all again.
Yeah, we're only around the corner now.
Yeah, that's right.
Come by, have a beer with me.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Be fun.
Awesome.
All right, Chris. Well, thank you very much for doing the interview, bro.
It's a pleasure.
I've been looking forward to doing this for so long, and we finally got to do it.
Yep.
And everyone out there finally found out what happened with Chris Zeplin. And,
Yep.
I'm
still here, still alive.
He's still around. He's still good. He's happy.
Yep.
Things are going swell for
Yep.
him. So, Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hopefully.
I'm sure there's a lot of stuff we didn't cover, but
There probably is quite a lot.
Maybe we'll save that for another podcast.
Maybe another time we'll get together, because you know I've been wanting to continue this timeline series.
Yeah,
might be good to have you do a year, maybe like the UWF years with DJ would be pretty fun if we got you both
that'd
together.
be cool. Yeah, I don't know if there's much to say about that, but you know, it's an era that most of the guys that are around now don't know about. So I guess for just knowing the history of it would be cool.
Yep, cool. Well, thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to the GBYWN Australia podcast, part 3 with Chris Zeplin. I know this was only about 22 minutes long, but hey, we got through the questions. That was it.
Yep.
No more.
Awesome.
So I had a great time.
Me too.
Excellent. Thank you for listening, guys. And you're welcome, Chris.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.